Hi, everyone, and a big welcome to everyone that's tuning in right now to Tech in Asia's Product Development Conference 2022, our flagship conference for all things product. We have product professionals from all across the region joining us today just to learn every single tip and trick that we can get today. So for session 2, we have, it's about product and marketing, collaborative effort to create digital experiences. And we have an expert from Amplitude, Adam Greco, that will be joining us today. Hello, Adam.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome on stage.
Yeah, no, great to be here. Thanks everyone for joining.
How are you today? Feeling good?
I'm good. It's evening my time. I'm sure it's
All
early
right.
your time, but yeah, excited to be here. I think I'm the complete opposite time zone of you. So it's 10:30 my time,
Oh,
PM.
thank you for joining us at this time. I hope you're still hyped up, even though it's 10:30 p.m. Everyone in the comment section, please give Adam a big up for tuning in so late. So I think over to you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much everyone for joining. And right off the bat, I want to say I was supposed to be joined by my colleague from Amplitude, John Cutler. Unfortunately, he is battling what we're not sure might be COVID and lost his voice. So I'm going to kind of run the show here today. But really excited to be here and talk about the topic of marketing and product. Just a little bit about me, my background. So I've spent the last 20 plus years in the digital analytics space, but I spent most of my time in the marketing analytics space. I was one of the early employees at a startup called Omniture that ended up being acquired by Adobe. Also was the director of marketing analytics at Salesforce.com. And I've been through about 1,000 implementations of digital analytics. And I recently joined Amplitude as a product evangelist. And as many of you know, Amplitude is one of the leading product analytics vendors. So I've kind of learned a ton about the product analytics space. And one of the things that we've been working on is trying to figure out how we merge marketing and product analytics. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today, a little bit of a journey that I've been on over the last decade and the last couple months, and kind of share some tips and things that we've seen and see if it resonates with you all. So to start, what I wanted to do is kind of go back in time a little bit. Obviously, we focus on product and marketing analytics, and digital analytics is an important piece for all marketers and product teams. Everyone building digital experiences want to understand what's going on with these digital experiences. But if you go back in time, the digital analytics space actually started in a weird way. It started as a way that marketers could figure out what was the kind of return on investment of buying digital ads. After that, they realized, hey, we have this analytics product that's on our website. Can we use analytics to figure out what people are looking at on our website, the flows they're going through, what are they doing, how often are they hitting certain pages, and so on. But it wasn't until kind of the app revolution when mobile apps came out where suddenly analytics took a little bit of a turn. A lot of people in the product teams started using analytics to say, how can we learn what people are doing within our digital products and how can we improve our digital products? And as many of you know, we're now in this kind of world of digital transformation where it seems like everything is going digital. And the example I like to use, because my family growing up was in the banking business, if you think about a bank, many years ago, you chose your bank based on the location that you lived in. What was the bank that was around the corner from you? Then, when banking kind of moved online in the early days of the internet, you would basically say, okay, I'm going to just use the bank I've always gone to, but now I'm going to go to their website. Then you started getting to the point where you start doing transactions on the bank website. Then eventually it evolved to the point where you're doing pretty much all of your banking on the website. Then the mobile app came out, and now basically you're doing all of your banking through your mobile app. You're taking pictures of checks, you're depositing them, and so on. And what's kind of interesting is that now we're in a world where even the younger generation, I have a couple of teenage kids, their friends tell them that the way they're choosing their bank is now based on the app. Whichever bank has the best app is the one that they tend to go with. And they use word of mouth to figure out which app they like the best. And so we've come it's kind of a massive change that's happened of going from physical locations to now the digital experience means everything. And this is something that marketing and product teams really have to adapt to because the old way of doing business is just kind of going away, and it seems like everything is moving digital. So, with that brings some challenges. And the first challenge that we've seen is this idea of product and marketing failing to collaborate. And I want to kind of illustrate this with a story. When I worked at Salesforce, I was in charge of marketing analytics and portions of the website. And our main mission was to get people to fill out a free trial form on our website. And this was back in 2009, 2010. Ironically, we were actually ahead of the curve when it came to product led growth at salesforce.com because we did a lot of free trials back then. Now, I knew exactly how much it cost us through display ads, paid search. I knew our investments in SEO, how they were paying out in order to get people to fill out a form. But what's interesting is as soon as someone filled out a form, my job was done. I actually wasn't able to put my analytics software within the free trial product experience. And once they filled out the form, they went over to the product team. And the product team would basically try to figure out holistically how do they make a good free trial experience so they could get people to convert and become customers. But what's interesting is we were each kind of doing our own analytics, but we were doing it separately and we weren't really communicating. Now, if you think about that in a world of today where that's kind of like crazy, why would we not do that? But we had a couple consequences. Imagine back then if the product team who's running the free trial would have known that the particular person, for example, who came into the free trial did a Google search for the term customer service. Back then, we always drop people into the sales part of Salesforce because that's what we were known for. But in this case, someone coming from customer service probably would have had a better experience if they dropped into the customer service part of our product, not sales. What if marketing would have known that someone who was in a free trial after maybe a week or so disengaged and stopped using the free trial? There's no way the product team could really stay on top of thousands of people in the free trial. But in marketing, we were really good at spamming people and making sure that we could figure out how to get them back on track. But we had no idea back then what was happening. Another thing we think about is what if marketing would have known which product features were really popular in the free trial and the ones that led people to convert? We could have actually focused on those features in our marketing and our advertising to really try to get more qualified people. And then lastly, if we would find out which of the prospects in the free trial actually became customers, then we could kind of back into what were the marketing campaigns that drove those good qualified customers, and then we could double down on those campaigns. So this is just an example of some of the pain points if you've got marketing and product not collaborating. And back then in 2010, that was pretty prevalent because we didn't have the answers to any of these questions. So what we really see the most cutting edge companies doing now is they're trying to figure out how do they break down the walls between marketing and product and acquisition and more of the product experience and retention. In many cases, many organizations are using different tools to figure out how are we acquiring customers, and then they use different tools to figure out what is the actual product experience. And so we believe that in the future that these things are going to come together, and I'm going to share some of the kind of learnings and some tips that I have there. Now, one of the things that John Cutler and I did, which is really interesting, is he has a large network for product analytics folks and product teams. I have a large following on LinkedIn for digital marketers. One of the interesting points is when I first joined Amplitude, I actually looked at the common network that John and I have. I think I had 20,000 people on my LinkedIn network and he had something like 60 or 80,000. But John and I had 85 people in common when I first joined Amplitude. It's obviously grown since then, but that was a kind of a warning sign that we are living in two completely different worlds. And then the other thing that John and I did is we basically did the survey that you see on the screen here. We asked our prospective audiences a question like, how are marketing and product collaborating at your organization? And it was kind of scary how similar the results were and also how frightening the results were. In over half of the cases, we found that marketers and product teams were telling us that they have kind of a bad relationship, sometimes an adversarial relationship. And that's not good because that means your customer is ultimately going to suffer. This kind of breakdown between product and marketing has a lot of negative consequences. We've talked to and interviewed a bunch of companies since we did that survey, and we find that a lot of times they're using different targets, different personas, different KPIs. They have different kind of stances on the customer journeys that people are taking. And a lot of times we notice there's not a lot of trust between these two groups, and they're not really thinking holistically about the organization. And we've seen a lot of negative consequences for that. Now, the second problem that arises from this kind of lack of collaboration or communication between product and marketing is that sometimes it manifests itself in actual technology issues and solutions. And a good example of this is at Amplitude. We have seen a number of companies that use us for product analytics and use other products for like web or marketing analytics. And one example here in the United States is Walmart, who uses Adobe Analytics on their website for marketing, but they use Amplitude on their mobile app for product analytics. And we've seen this over and over and over again at companies. And what's interesting is if you think about the consequences of this, each customer has a different profile in each analytics product. You can't build segments and cohorts using kind of multi-platform activity. You can't personalize experiences across web and mobile or product and marketing. You can't see the entire customer journey experience. It's also difficult to learn multiple products at the company, and a lot of times it leads companies to reconcile the same data points and fight about what's right in one product or another. So the next question John and I kind of always talk about is, can marketing and product really be friends? So what's interesting is John posted this really great blog post about the 15 behaviors of healthy data informed product teams. And what was interesting is when I read this blog post, and I've got a QR code if you want to take a snapshot of it here, every single thing that he talked about, product teams using product analytics, resonated for me in marketing analytics. So it got me thinking that these teams aren't actually that different. They just kind of approach things a little bit differently. So to quickly look at an example of this, if you look at a day in the life of product and marketing, and if we look at, say, someone like John, who's a typical product person, me as like a typical digital marketer, we actually go through the same things. So really quickly, I'll take you through, like if I'm a product person, I might say, what actions do visitors take most often in the app? As a marketer, I might say, what actions they take most often on the website? As a product person, I might say, I have some key funnels and I want to see the conversion rates of people going through those funnels. As a marketer, I might say the same thing. I have like a shopping cart funnel, and then I might want to drill down onto that funnel and see how is this funnel different for the shoe category. So maybe the shoe category is lagging over the general people going through our purchase funnel. I might use as a product person kind of different flows to see event flows to see how they're kind of going from, say, a concert landing screen to other pages. In the kind of web world, I might also think about how are they going through if they look at shoes, what are the next categories they flow through. I might look at correlations. How does search correlate with song purchases? If I'm a product person working on something like iTunes. If I'm a marketer, I might say I want to do a cohort of people who purchase shoes but don't buy clothing. Maybe I could target those people for cross sell, upsell. Maybe as a product person, I'm looking at cohorts of new users who haven't joined the community. Similarly, I might be looking as a marketer at people who bought shoes but didn't view clothing, and so on. So you can kind of get the gist here is that we're using the same types of reports, the same types of analyses as we go through things, but we really ultimately look at things differently just because we're putting on a marketing hat or a product hat. So if we look at if John or Adam or marketers or product people actually were working together, we actually have the same goals as we're trying to optimize apps, optimize the website, optimize digital experiences, but we do have these different tactics. And some of these tactics are kind of like the way we look at the world. So like a marketer might be saying, I'm using these tactics to improve my marketing spend and my acquisition. But a product person might be saying, I want to really figure out how I can use this data to improve my product investments, figure out the right personas, do experiments, and so on. And some of the folks on Twitter, when we talked about this, they came up with some really good things saying, listen, I'm working with my marketing VP, and I'm understanding that we do need to start working together to do things more holistically. So this is kind of the thing that not a lot of people talk about. And I wanted to kind of really just use this presentation as a way to get you thinking about how often are your marketing and product teams working together? Because we've been really disappointed in the companies that we've seen in the collaboration. And a couple things that we think you can do to kind of start this conversation and try to take action and rectify this is one, if your organization is using multiple digital analytics products, maybe you're using one for mobile app, one for web, or one for product, one for marketing, you really have to ask yourself, is that the right long term solution? Are the benefits of using a point solution for product or marketing outweighing the benefit of having one holistic system where you can actually see everything about the customers and build cohorts across all of your platforms, all your journeys, marketing and product? And oftentimes they're not. And a lot of times this just happened because things evolved over time, because marketers were working on the website and product teams were working on maybe an app. And now that the customers are easily floating between website and app, you have to kind of change that line of thinking because they're using both your platforms. Another thing that we see really helpful for companies is to get both marketing and product together and work on KPI workshops like a North Star metric, where you're both jointly coming up with metrics or KPIs that you can agree on so that you can basically start to collaborate and work together so that you're not working against each other, and having one group take one KPI that goes up, but that actually hurts the other group. And this is something we do for a lot of companies. And John Cutler's helped a lot of companies kind of see how to use the North Star kind of framework for that. Another thing that we find really powerful is to do joint journey maps. And it's amazing when we do this with companies where you get the marketing team and they have a whole flow. They get people to the website, they get them to do certain things, and then all of a sudden they kind of think that their journey stops. But then the product team says, yeah, but after that, Mr. or Mrs. Marketer, you don't realize they're then doing this flow within the product. And once you actually bring that all together, both teams tend to appreciate each other, and they start to see that their journey is actually a smaller part of a larger journey. And it also leads to a lot of opportunities to kind of streamline, cut out certain steps that don't make sense, that are redundant when you look at them holistically. But more importantly, it gets product and marketing teams working together across that whole journey so that they get a better experience. And then lastly, you can also try to identify what are use cases you can come up with where you can prove to your organization that marketing and product working together is better for the organization, that there's a synergistic effect there where the sum of the parts is, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And this might be examples like the Salesforce example, figuring out how marketing can resurrect users when they're decreasing in product engagement, or, can you connect successful product usage to acquisition source and kind of double down on that ad spend? So if you're creative, and these are just a couple of examples that John and I have come up with, but really thinking about how can we come up with use cases that can really prove that bringing marketing and product together can help your organization. At the end of the day, we believe really strongly at Amplitude that the future is organizations bringing product and marketing together, and that these teams are going to have to find a way to put the customer at the center and not focus on the fact that they work in different departments, and that marketers might have to be kind of embedded in product teams or vice versa. Or then you might have to have cross training so that the marketers can appreciate what's happening with the product side, and the product side can understand and appreciate what the marketers are doing. And you really have to figure out how you can be laser focused on these experiences that span both product and marketing. And at the end of the day, your customer honestly doesn't care if, when they're interacting with one of your digital experiences, if they're dealing with the marketing department or the product department. In fact, if they can tell that they're actually using one department or another, then you've got a problem. John and I call that you're shipping your org chart instead of shipping a really good product. You want to have good, holistic, meaningful customer experiences. And that should be seamless to your customers, so that if they are on a website, and then they jump to a mobile app, or a mobile app back to website, they should have the same experience. They should be able to pick up right where they left off. And that's what we're seeing some of the top leading companies do. And it's not easy, but it all starts with getting the marketing and product teams to realize that they have to collaborate and work together. So that's just kind of a quick run through of some of the things that we're seeing between marketing and product analytics, and just wanted to leave some time for questions.
so much for that presentation, Adam. It was really, really eye-opening, and yeah, we send our best to John and hope he's feeling better and finding his voice. At the same time, while John is not here, I'm really curious to know the relationship between you two. Did you guys meet at Amplitude? Is that how your relationship started?
Yeah, I hadn't ever heard of John, which is amazing, before I joined Amplitude because I was so in the marketing analytics world. And
Yeah.
John has given me a crash course on the product analytics world, which has been really fascinating. And it's really interesting. Like John and I, we work together a lot. We meet with customers a lot, and it's just so fascinating how much similarities we have in the problems that we encounter with customers, and just how similar our worlds are. But it's kind of like a bizarro universe. Like we've been living in separate lives, but like we're almost like brothers separated at birth, but now kind of coming together and seeing a lot of the same problems, same traits, same solutions for marketing and product teams.
And would you say that you obviously see a lot of similarities in the things that you're working on, but as a person, what drew you to marketing, and as a person, what drew John to product? Are you guys like cats and dogs, or are you more similar than that?
No, we are pretty similar. I think it's marketing. I was always drawn to marketing to figure out how do we use technology to educate people. I've been a big blogger my whole life, and I'm a big believer that the best marketing is actually providing genuine content that is meaningful and useful to people. And then ultimately, if they read that, if they like that, then they'll kind of learn more about what you do and the products you work with. And I think John is kind of driven, he's pretty pure about just wanting to really build the best possible products out there. And a lot of that starts with the processes, with the teams. And he spends a lot of time. We joke that, like I'm like a therapist for digital marketers, and he's like a therapist for product teams. And a lot of times we have these like therapy sessions where we meet with a customer. And what's funny is when we meet with customers, we are often the first time that the marketing and product teams have a joint conversation together about things like the customer journey, like digital analytics, like experimentation, because they've just lived in different worlds. And it's especially bad at large enterprises where they're very siloed. It's much better at like smaller startups where teams are a little more nimble.
Yeah, because you mentioned the first product, the first problem is that product and marketing teams don't collaborate, and this is the trend that you saw in 2010. But are you still seeing that today?
We are seeing it today, and it's unfortunate that it hasn't changed that much in the
Mm-hmm.
last decade. I think at smaller companies it's better because people have to wear multiple hats. But we actually have some companies we talk to that are using 5 digital analytics products, and it's crazy. They use one for session replay, one for marketing analytics, one for product analytics. They might have one for screen
Yeah.
heat maps and all that stuff. And it's just kind of interesting to see. At Amplitude, we've actually been working really hard, and one of the reasons I came to Amplitude is we're trying to build like the super product. We're trying to build a product that works equally for product teams and marketers, so that there finally is one platform that they can use for everything. As you know, many marketers use products like Adobe and Google Analytics, which are great for marketing, but they're not so great for product. And traditionally, companies like Amplitude and some of our competitors have been really good for product, but not great for marketing. So we're really doubling down, and we're trying to
Yeah.
basically add marketing functionality so you could have one platform that teams could use. And finally, that might help bring some of these teams together.
Less is more is definitely applicable in this case. So let's take in some questions from our audiences. People are really active on the chat, and I'm really happy to see that. From Maria Utami, she's asking what things like checklists should we think about as a product manager when you're collaborating with the marketing team when you're marketing a product?
Yeah, I think my suggestion would be that product managers should spend a little bit of time with the marketing team and understand how difficult it is to find customers and educate them on what your product does and get them to the point where they're engaging with the product. John Cutler told me that he always thought product was really difficult and now he's kind of part of our marketing team at Amplitude. And he's like, I was completely wrong. He said marketing is 100 times more difficult than product in many cases because it's just there's a lot of politics and stuff. But I think if you as a product person can put yourself in the shoes of a marketer for a week or a month, or just see like the types of campaigns they're running, dealing with things like paid search ads, and how hard they're working to get people to actually try your product, that's a really good first step. And I think that the same thing is for marketers. I think, marketers shouldn't just give up the minute that they get someone to try the product. They should see what happens with engagement and kind of build that lifetime view of the customer. At Amplitude, we're really big believers in product-led growth. And so we really believe that the best way is to actually let your product speak for yourself and get people to use the product. And so we spend a lot of time trying to educate people on what our product does to get them to just try it for free so that they see how powerful it is. And then we think once they use it, they'll get hooked. And I think that product-led growth is a great intersection of product and marketing. And I think growth marketing is a great team to start with because they kind of get both the product side and the marketing side.
These are some really great tactics. Thank you so much, Adam. Moving on to the second questions from Martha Puri Utari. All right, she's obviously enjoyed the presentation. Personas are coming in from the product team. So should marketing team use the personas that's established by the product team in creating strategy or tactics? Or should the marketing team build their own persona?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think that it's really good practice for the product team to share their personas with the marketing team, because what we've seen a lot is that marketers, they get paid to bring people to the app or website, but a lot of times they bring what I call tourists. These are people who never have any intention of buying. When I was at Salesforce, we had easily a 15% of all of our leads were students from India who were learning about like CRM. And so I think that what's really good is product teams are really good at honing in on the right personas. And if you can really educate the marketing team on your persona, they can be much more prescriptive about going to the right sources to find those people. And so, but on the other hand, I think that it's important for the product team to understand what the limits are for marketing. For example, like with GDPR and privacy things, there are certain things we can't just go out and say, oh, if you want, these people who have these exact characteristics, it's not easy to just go out and get them. But the more that marketing knows about the type of people that they want, and the better. And I think it's great to come up with personas, but using behavioral data within the product to say we can prove that these people are really successful in our product. And then if we can backtrack to where we found those people, that's the best way to mine for like the most qualified people. And in that case, everyone wins because no product team wants to show that people disengage with their product, because it might be that the product is awesome, but the reason they're disengaging is because you brought the wrong people to the product. And both teams win if the more qualified and right personas come. So I think that's a great opportunity for the two groups to chat and kind of like hone in on those personas and just kind of work together on that effort.
Yeah. I think we're getting a real insight to how you and John work. I love that tourist line. All right, moving on to the next question quickly. Want to get through as much as we can from Alex Hong. This is a great question, actually, kind of like giving light to why some companies are moving so slowly of incorporating product and marketing. How much can the corporate management do to enhance the cultural transformation so that product team can work better with the marketing team? Typically, there's a tendency for a very silo approach, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it really depends on the politics of the company, how big the company is. I think that the way that I always tell this is how siloed they are is how, when we talk to companies, how much the two groups even communicate. And as I mentioned in the presentation, the biggest signal or warning sign is if they're using multiple analytics products, because that clearly means that there's some issues there. But in order to get corporate management, I think what you have to do is really paint a picture of that full customer journey. And if you can build a nice diagram that says, here's what we make our customers go through from a marketing standpoint to learn about our products, then they join, they start using our products, and here's what they go through. And if you can show the executives that we actually can't trace from point A to point Z because we have so many different products, and we have different handoffs between different teams, that people are getting bad experiences. That's like the best way to break down those silos. And unfortunately, you could try to do it from the bottom up, but it really does have to happen kind of from the top down. And we've had a number of companies who come to us and they said, basically, we show a journey and then we show that we drop off and we know nothing after that point. And then we pick up another journey and we show that we cannot even tell if it's the same person that's doing this. And going to an executive is saying, how easy do you think it is for our organization right now to take one person, Adam Greco, from the minute Adam comes to our website to the minute he learns about our product, tries our product, and buys our product, for us to track Adam? And if you walk them through how difficult it is and the fact that you probably can't do that today, that really opens up their eyes and say, if we just could make a couple minor changes here, we could do this not just for Adam, but for everyone. And we can then increase personalization, and we can increase the impact of experimentation, both on our marketing and our product. Usually the higher level executives will understand, like, this is something we really need to focus on, or we're going to get our butts kicked by our competitors.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm assuming you're talking about larger organizations that are not so agile, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of our clients are like startups, and they're
Mm-hmm.
really super agile, and they totally get this stuff. It's really
Mm-hmm.
the larger organizations that really struggle with this.
Right. So, who was that? Alex, I'll tell you what, you share this link with your management, and you can be able to convince them that product and marketing need to work together hand in hand. I think that's all the time that we have today. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. And thank you to everyone for sending in your questions. Please get in touch with us if your question wasn't answered, and then we'll try and sync up after PDC. All right. So
Okay,
good night,
thanks
Adam.
everyone. Thanks everyone for joining. Yep, have a great rest of the conference, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you. On to the next session. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.